We're starting with our cold open, which is a 1-minute challenge for our two guests, Purander and Pat. And this is what they have to do. The topic is hacking the encryption fallacy. In 1 minute, they're going to go back and forth and talk about all the different ways encryption is failing or failing with our attempts with the solution of what encryption can do. Are you guys ready? Yes? Here we go. Yep. Here's the countdown. 2.
How good is data encryption when you can't use the data that's encrypted?
It's not enough. Everyone has it. Lawyers think they know what it is. It's not enough.
Right,
and what about performance loss when you encrypt data?
It's not a competitive advantage. It's a table stakes item. It's like a utility.
Does encryption today help you share data securely with your partners?
Has nothing to do with that. It's just an armored car. Doesn't help you when you get to your location.
How about when you have multiple data storage platforms?
Oh, you got me there.
All right. Now keep going back. What's on your list? 15 seconds.
It doesn't help. You go.
How easy is it to implement encryption in your current system?
5 seconds, quick.
Trust. Do you trust? You trust it.
Yeah, other than compliance and picking a box.
All right, how'd we do, Andrew?
Well, if we're counting that last one, I'd have Purander at 6 and Pat at 4.
Ah, Purander wins. Good job, Purander. Excellent, excellent.
Congratulations.
All right, well, thank you very much. That's our cold open. That's just to set the stage of what we're talking about today in the encryption fallacy, hacking the encryption fallacy. Let's hear the opening music.
Welcome, everybody. The CISO series video chat is ready to begin.
Welcome, everybody. My name is David Spark to the CISO series video chat. Let me explain what's about to happen today. I'm going to go through our little presentation and explain everything that's happening. Who's here? We'll close that. All right. Topic is hacking the encryption fallacy, an hour of critical thinking on where encryption fails and how to keep data protected continuously. Our guests, who you just heard, Purander Das, who's the CEO of Satero, and Pat Deneen, who's the CIO of Nielsen. Our sponsor today is Satero. Thank you very much, Satero, for sponsoring this very video chat. To participate, for those of you who are regulars, you know this stuff. You can participate in either the chat room or you can submit a bad idea. This is what I want you to do right now.
Send them in. We need your bad ideas.
Yes, what your bad idea is on the topic of hacking encryption. You can join us on video at any time by just typing "Bring Me On" to ask a question or make a comment. You can also ask plenty of questions. There's a button right there at the bottom to ask a question, or you can vote for your favorite question as well. Now, today's schedule is play a speed round for the first 2 minutes. We've done that. Your bad ideas and questions. We want that for the first 20 minutes. And then the poll will go live. Andrew will throw up the poll and you'll vote for your favorite bad idea. From 20 to 30 minutes, we want to hear what your best strategy is. So we'll go from bad ideas to good ideas. What's a good idea here? And at 30 minutes, we'll play the Department of Yes game. So whatever you voted as the best bad ideas, they'll be contenders in the Department of Yes game. At 30 minutes past the hour, we'll vote for your favorite questions. And Pat doesn't know this, but at 35 minutes past the hour, he's going to do a 5-minute guitar solo.
Yeah.
At 40 minutes past the hour, we will have the best bad idea contenders will face off. So the two people that will, or the two bad ideas, or the authors of the two bad ideas that we chose, you will actually come on camera and tell us why your idea is the worst. And both Pat and Purander will determine which is the worst of those. Then we'll have our last questions and final advice. And then ultimately we will go to our icebreaker, which is our one-on-one meetup. If you've ever been part of our one-on-one meetups, they are a ton of fun. So please stick around for that. Actually, next Friday, our topic is going to be hacking cloud access. So that's May 7th, 2021, an hour of critical thinking about how managing permissions is complicating our ability to secure an environment. Notice there's a button at the bottom of the screen that says join us next Friday for hacking cloud access. You know what you can do? At any time during this video chat, you can click on that button and register for next week's video chat. It will not take you out of this video chat. You'll very much be in this video chat, but that will allow you to also register for next video chat. So please do that at any point during this video chat. And as I mentioned before, stick around for our icebreaker. Well, don't click that. Well, click that link at the bottom to register for next week. But actually, that will change at the end of this video chat for our icebreaker link. All right, I got all that out. Thank you for all of your patience for that matter. Have you picked out a song, by the way, for your guitar solo, Pat? Yes?
Yeah, probably will. They're mostly basses. So
Okay.
it'll be a bass solo, which is even more fun.
Oh, yeah.
And probably another one, Bites the Dust, something like that.
All right. Well, we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah.
All right. Bad ideas are already coming in. Excellent. Bad idea, encrypt everything, including end users. I like that one. Good idea, Craig. All right, let's start with the very, very basic question of what the encryption fallacy is, because, it's I think that's a good enticement. I'll start with you, Parinder. What do you believe is the encryption fallacy? Where are people fooling themselves into believing that encryption can do and what it can't do?
Yeah, so thanks, David. Thanks for having Pat and I. Pleasure to be here. I think the simple thing is when you think about encryption, or when you think anybody thinks about encryption as it relates to data, everybody believes that encrypted data is safe. It certainly is, but the problem is it's safe when no one is using it. Because obviously the whole idea behind encryption is keep the data protected and don't let people access it. Mm-hmm. But that poses a couple of different challenges, right? When you encrypt data, now you're losing functionality or usability of the data. Second, with any existing encryption approach, when applications or users tend to want to use the data is no longer encrypted. So there's the fallacy. Everybody wants to believe that encrypted data is safe, but there is a big vulnerability when applications and users are using the data. So it's really not, it's not applicable to data in use. And you can ask your users or even yourself, how often is data not used in a system? Mm-hmm. The whole idea of a system is for it to be used. Mm-hmm. So that's the fallacy.
All right, good set the stage. I do want to remind people who are dropping bad ideas, and I've noticed some of them you have not indicated with the bad idea colon. If you don't indicate it with the bad idea colon, we'll think it's a good idea, or we'll think you think it's a good idea, and we may laugh at you. So just warning you to make sure that you put the bad idea colon in front of it. What's your feeling about this encryption fallacy, Pat? Were you dealing with this very problem yourself in that, you had data encrypted at rest and realized it's really not that encrypted?
I almost, when I think about the encryption fallacy in preparation for this, it's almost like, I guess the best way I could put it is that encryption is sort of a table stakes item these days. And the real value of a system and or the data is how you can combine it with other things, other companies' data. And just as Parinder said, encryption's fine. It's the armored car to make sure the data gets to the place, to the bank or whatever. But until you can actually combine data easily with other data sets, that's where the value of data really explodes. And today, every company, their customer data is their competitive advantage. Nielsen is in the business of selling data that we've collected from our measurement of what consumers do around media. That is our competitive advantage. So we're very concerned about how that data gets accessed or used. But it's not just us. Every bank, every retailer, every company, their customer data is very, very very important. And yes, you can encrypt it, and nobody can use it until they have to use it, and then encryption is not available anymore. So to me, the fallacy about encryption is it's a table stakes item. Everyone has to have it, and it doesn't make money.
Good point. All right. We have questions that are already starting to come in. Please throw in your questions, throw in your bad ideas as well. This is okay. Parinder, you addressed this, and I think this is kind of the big elephant in the room. Craig Herder asked this question, who, by the way, repeat winner of the best bad ideas. It's nice to know that David, you need to rotate keys every 10,000 miles. Oh, that's a different David in here. David Christensen, not talking to me, David. John Prokop out there. All right. This comes from Craig Herder. Encryption is not a panacea and has limited use in the enterprise. We have addressed this. So how do you draw the line between the data protection and usability perimeter?
So that's essentially what we here at Sotero have solved. With our IP, our patented technology, we're able to execute operations on encrypted data. So to the point, to the question, our data with our product stays encrypted while applications or processes are operating on that data. And that's the big, I mean, like we started off this thing, encrypted data is great when it's at rest, but it gets decrypted for use. With our approach, data stays encrypted throughout the life cycle, whether it's in the context of an application issuing queries on a data store, or in the context of what Pat was talking about. When you share data, or when an organization shares data with other organizations or partners, we can enable them to perform their activities, whether it's analytics, research, querying, aggregations, on encrypted data, without the need for that data to be decrypted. That's how we solve this problem.
I'm actually interested to know give us a little behind the scenes. How is it doing that? Is it essentially encrypting it on the fly? And also, when it's quote encrypting on the fly, when you're dealing with huge databases that are being queried, are you encrypting the whole database? I mean, what's happening at this point?
So, I mean, in a sense, that's what we do, David. One of the key things that you find out as you look at data sets, there's just a handful of attributes that are sensitive. So I'll put it in a very simple context that I tend to use, right? When you think about your record in an HR system, if you take out your identifying information, the rest of it is either just numbers or letters that don't really make a lot of sense to anybody that's looking at. So the need to encrypt data sets as an entirety or as a whole is very limited. We can do that, but that's not the need. When you locate those sensitive attributes, whether they're PII, PHI, or any kind of sensitive attributes, you encrypt them. Then you essentially taken out the ability to link it back to anybody or anything that's meaningful, right?
So then how do you determine, or is the user determining, like, what are you determining is the PII, the PHI information?
Typically, we work with the users to help them identify the things, but it's a very, very common set of attributes across practically almost any data source. It's either an identifier, name, address, social security number, account ID, credit card number, et cetera, right? What our algorithms do is we take those attributes, encrypt them, and put them back into the storage. And by storage, I mean relational database, file system, whatever it happens to be. So now the same attributes that were in plain text are now encrypted and stored in that thing. When the query comes in, we actually mediate the request for access to the data. We transform those requests to operate on those encrypted attributes. That's our whole IP, our proprietary technology.
So, but isn't there, when that query goes against those encrypted attributes, isn't there a moment that it has to be seen?
No, that's the whole idea behind Sotero, is that data never needs to be seen, because our algorithms know how to operate on that encrypted attributes in its encrypted state. Okay.
Pat, let me talk to you. I believe you're a customer of Sotero. What was your situation beforehand, and what are you dealing with right now?
Well, I'm not going to speak specifically about our specific use cases, but what I can say is companies like Nielsen and as I said before, banks, retailers, consumer packaged goods companies are all of our proprietary competitive advantage comes from the data that we have about our customers, or that we collect about third parties. And it's fine to encrypt it. So we will encrypt it whenever we have to deliver that, but it has to be unencrypted again before someone can use it. Where you can multiply the value of that information is when two parties that don't necessarily trust each other can have their data integrated and produce more important data by combining it in some fashion. And then neither gets a chance to see the other's data. So let me see if I can put this in a context for you. companies like Facebook and Amazon and they all have all kinds of proprietary information that make them very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want anyone to see that data. And so why would they share that with someone like Nielsen or anybody unless there was an adequate mechanism to protect it and also not have other people see that information.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the types of use cases where encryption is not enough. And that's why I'm very drawn to what Zotero is doing, because they actually create a ubiquitous, if you will, encryption mechanism. So the data is never unprotected. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal because a lot of times our lawyers will stop us. And I'm not saying my lawyers, our lawyers in general. So the industry.
But lawyers are partners too. Yes.
Yeah. And what lawyers will do is they'll say, hey, listen, you can't let this go because there would be risk to our business or risk to PII. And so they will preclude us from having the types of partnerships that we would want in various industries.
Oh,
and
really?
So, yeah, well, absolutely.
So this is enabled partnerships that you wanted that you couldn't have for legal reasons.
The use case could, yes. Again,
yes.
I'm not speaking specifically.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming, because I know with big enterprises like your organization that you know, I run into this all the time, or I've heard this all the time. I don't run into it, but I heard this all the time where a big enterprise wants to work with a startup and eager to work with a startup.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the startup hasn't got the wherewithal, hasn't figured out, oh, if we want to work with big companies, a big company, we have to have this big old compliance checklist on our side so they can work with us. I'm assuming you deal with this constantly. And and you just have to say, guys, you're awesome, but geez, I can't get you to stage 1 because of how insecure you are. Your compliance is a giant mess. Yes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sorry, Parinder, go ahead.
So Parinder, give me the story and talk about how you've been dealing with it with your customers too.
Yeah, so great point, David. I mean, that's absolutely an obstacle for a startup in any industry, especially in the software space, and specifically in the security space for someone like us, right? I mean, our product, our approach, and our technology catches people's attention, but then it starts becoming like you're a startup. You need to go through all these things, and then you look at those questionnaires. They're meant for somebody with 5,000 people and an army of lawyers to help them get through it. There really is no shortcut around it. Our initial enterprise engagements have kind of, we've taken our lumps, let me put it that way, and worked our way through that. But then as you go through it, you also look at those questionnaires and go, this, for the most part, I mean, there's a lot of necessary information that's in there, required information, but a lot of it is just compliance things. Somebody wrote up a questionnaire with 300 questions that make little or no sense, but you still have to go through it.
Yeah, and also it's a point in time. I mean, we know that issue. Hey, by the way, the time has been flying. We're almost at 10:20, and the poll is going to drop in just a couple of minutes. So if you've got bad ideas that you've been holding on to, do not hold back. But I've noticed most of you have not been holding back, and that we do have a good flood of bad ideas. So I appreciate that. If you have not clicked the link at the bottom of the screen, please do that now to join us next Friday for our video chat. Let's get to the questions. A ton of them in, and actually 2 from Ron, who have both been voted up considerably. I'm going to ask both because they're very related. He asks, should governments mandate encryption requirements? I'm assuming I'm kind of preaching to the choir on this one. Technical and procedural, and he says asking for a friend. But he also adds, should encryption and data security be a requirement for data analytics and computer science students? And when we say should encryption, like, there's the applying encryption and learning encryption. Like what levels should we be going here? So requirements, learning. I'll start with you, Parinder.
I mean, I wouldn't say encryption in itself should be part of the required learning, but data security absolutely should be. And that has become that is one of the big challenges we see, right? People associate data security with encryption without realizing how limiting today's encryption is and all the things that it doesn't do. Giving them a holistic perspective of what data security is, how to achieve data security beyond the notion of just compliance and a checklist is absolutely critical.
Mhm.
And I mean, to Pat's point, I mean, and the thing that he's been talking about is most data security or protection is focused on one or two operational databases, right, or data stores in an enterprise. The same enterprise will more than happily take the data in there and send it off to their partners, whether it's for marketing, analytics, research, whatever else. And then there's absolutely no security associated with that. If you think about it, it's the same data that you're trying to protect in an operational system that you completely lost control when you handed it off to another party or to another services provider. Cloud services providers fall into the same bucket. When organizations move their data in there, the cloud security provider has both the data, quote unquote, encrypted, as well as the keys that manage the encryption. Where is the control and security? Absolutely. Data security holistically, beyond the notion of achieving compliance, absolutely has to be part of the curriculum.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And Pat, do you have an answer to these questions?
Yeah, I'll answer them in the reverse order. So absolutely, anybody involved with business these days needs to have a higher level of appreciation about data security. We spend a lot of time at Nielsen making sure that our systems are not open for people to be able to get into them. And when we think about writing code or creating new products or services, the making sure that they're secure and they're not exposing our competitive information is very, very important. We spend a lot of time and energy on that, as you can imagine. And as technology gets better, it's only going to become more and more important. So I couldn't agree more that it's a big part of the curriculum. In terms of government regulation about this, it's an interesting thought. I guess my thinking is the government doesn't need to tell us that we need to protect our competitive assets. Our shareholders are telling us that. And so government really, they need to absolutely make sure that nobody's playing fast and loose with PII, and they're doing that, and we see that globally. But I'm not sure that the government is going to help any of us. We know in our industry, certainly the marketing information industry, that our products and services are our information, and we need to safeguard them. So the government doesn't need to tell us that.
All right, a couple of quick updates here. The poll is live now. We have 40 bad ideas in the poll, but lots more bad ideas are coming in. I should mention that the reason you want to get your bad ideas in, because the winner of the best bad idea, which I determine over the weekend, and I'll let you know next week, wins a really cool CISO Series fleece. By the way, any of you who have won that and have not received it, trust me, it's coming. Unfortunately, they've been delayed till next month, May. Well, actually, so hopefully within a couple of weeks, you will get those as well. But yes, you get a awesome CISO Series fleece as part of winning the best bad idea. Also, I should mention we are now switching over to good ideas. So from this moment on, if you've got good ideas on how to deal with encryption issues or how to safeguard data, please type good idea : so we know it's a good idea and not a bad idea. And we are only 7 minutes away from playing Department of Yes, and by the way, tons more questions come in. But I like this one, and I'm going to just set you up. If you do know what he's talking about, eager to know your answer. If not, no sweat. All right. Have either of you worked with, quote, zero knowledge databases, and is Citero doing something like this? Parunder, have you dealt with this?
I have not, and that's not what Citero does.
It's not what you do, and Patrick, you haven't dealt with it. All right, let's move on then.
Yeah, I'd have to phone a friend on that one.
That's a phone a friend. Okay. So there's some questions about just encryption in general, and this one comes from Chase Pettit. What do you think about the master passphrase key splitting schemes, the idea of two people know one half, et cetera, two keys to start this and for, dealing with encryption? What does it solve? What does it not solve, Parunder?
It's a good question. I mean, it certainly eliminates some of the jeopardy with a single point or a single source having the entire key. There is a little bit more security in that two parties have to come together to decrypt data, if you will. Mm-hmm. But Ironically enough, we actually utilize that within our own platform, because even the data encryption keys, we don't store that as a single key. We actually split that into multiple pieces and combine them together at the point of decryption when an authorized person needs to see it.
Any thoughts on this, Pat? I can move on. I got tons more questions.
Well, what I'll say is this. I'm not sure that necessarily solves the problem that I'm concerned about.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So what Parender's saying is exactly right. And it does when two parties want to agree and then use that encryption, that combined encryption key to open up data, it still becomes available for both parties to see. And that's the use case that we're all concerned about. If I know something proprietary about 100 customers and I don't want anybody else to know that maybe I'm legally precluded from letting anybody know that. And I want to be able to combine information about those customers with another company, but I don't want them to see that proprietary information about those 100. The fact that we both have access to that data doesn't help me. I want to be able to use the data. I want to be able to combine it with other people's data, have other data scientists do things to it, but I don't want them to see it. So us both having access doesn't help.
So a lot of really good ideas that are coming in about only store the data you need, have also a good data security program. Do not just rely on encryption for that matter. Here's a question from David Christensen, of which I believe your short answer is going to be yes, but I want to know if you can give me specifics of what it has done. But again, don't let me lead you too much into answering that. David Christensen asks, do you think cloud adoption has made the problem of data security / encryption worse? Parunder.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean,
so in what way? Let's detail it out.
Yeah. It's very similar to the problem that Pat has brought up and I alluded to, right? When organizations secure data within their premise, but when it leaves their premise to go to a partner, they essentially they wash their hands off it and saying it's now their problem. With cloud, there has just been a lot of buy-in into this notion that somehow the cloud is secure, right? If you break down somehow the cloud is secure, it turns out that the cloud is no more secure or even less secure than what you did or what enterprises did on premise. First, the very few organizations have the wherewithal or the skill sets needed to tie down data or applications in the cloud. There's your first problem. Right. I mean, that is a big challenge in itself because it's new technology. The scale that you need and the complexity associated with that is dramatically higher. The other point to that is what I mentioned, and this applies to not just the cloud, but also any third-party platforms that data gets moved into. You've given them your data. They claim they've encrypted it. It's at rest. In addition, the encryption keys are with whoever is providing the service to you, whether it's the cloud services provider or a platform provider. Really, you gave them the data and the keys to the data. It's actually less secure than if you had it in your own premise.
Mm-hmm. So, Pat, you're nodding your head. I'm like, from everything you said up until now, this sounds like the story that you're living. Yes.
Yes, everyone in our industries are living this. In all industries that are using the cloud. I mean, how many stories have we heard about people posting the keys to their cloud instances on GitHub by accident? So, by
the way, some of the bad ideas are on that line.
I know I'm sure it's a bad idea, but it happens. It happens.
Bad ideas all start in truth, I will say.
Yes.
And by the way, the number of bad ideas in the past that I've seen, bad idea, and they said, by the way, this actually happened. Yeah. Is sad. All right, we're just a couple of minutes away from doing our first game, or a second game actually, third actually. We did first game, we did the best bad idea. Now we'll do our third game. But let me ask. Well, heck, let's just go into the game right now. We're just a minute away. Let's hear we just got a call in.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
All right, that means, Pat Parunder, you have to, no matter what this bad idea is, you have to say yes to it and explain to me why. And the key thing is do not be facetious. Find the silver lining on this. All right. And to the audience, if this is your bad idea, please let us know it is you, because we want you to come on screen and defend your bad idea of why you believe it is the absolute worst idea. All right, number one, here we go. Give the encryption keys for all databases and other sensitive data to all employees before they start. Send it to their personal email, so their Gmail, their Yahoo, whatever. So they don't have any barriers to productivity. Parinder, I'm going to start with you. Why are you saying yes to this idea? Where's the silver lining?
I think the bad idea had it in there, productivity, right? There's no barriers to data access, data use. Everybody can see everything. I guess at some point you could go ask anybody in the organization a question about any data, whether it's HR, finance stuff. So there's no barriers. Anybody can operate on any data thing. I mean, that's a great idea.
You would be maybe out of business, though, at this time.
Probably
it might
would
be good for that, but you wouldn't be.
Probably would be.
Pat, by the way, hold on. I'm sorry, I didn't give you the appropriate good answer. Hooray! All right, Pat, let's hear it from you. Why do you believe this is a good idea? Or excuse me, why are you saying yes to this very idea?
I'm going to shades of Parinder's answer. I transparency wins. So the more transparent you can be in terms of data access within your organization, the better. So having somebody have all of it before they get started gives them the ability to know what they're getting into right away, and full transparency, and perhaps start some good ideas about how to combine that information before they get here. A little sick to my stomach saying this, but that would be the way I would think about it.
As I say to all our guests who play the Department of Yes, we will clip out your comment and just put that comment alone with no context whatsoever. All right. That, by the way, I found out that was Brian Colt. That was his bad idea. Brian, you be ready at around 40 minutes past the hour to come on screen to defend how bad your idea is. And here is the second one we're going to go with. We'll start with you. Oh, by the way, let me give you credit for that. Good job, Pat, for your answer. So the second one, I'm going to you, Pat, first on this one. Department of Yes, you're saying yes to this idea. You're going to send your private key offline by USPS, United States Postal Service, so that it will never appear again for any cyber criminal to steal. So it doesn't have, so there is some benefit. There is no digital, I'm assuming, whoever wrote this, please pipe up, no digital copy of this. Why are you going with this? Why are you saying yes to this?
I want to support the USPS. I know that they've been financially challenged in recent times, and so it's part of my America First strategy, and help the USPS by the cost of the stamp. That's all the best I'm going to come up with there.
Oh, yeah! I'll give it to you. It was a stretch, but I'll give it to you. Parinder, why are you saying yes to this idea? And who was that, by the way? I don't even know who said this one. Speak up in the chat room. Go ahead, Parinder. Why are you saying yes to this?
My yes would be because you can count on the USPS for delaying everything and for taking forever to deliver anything. Your chances of losing data just plummeted. You just became safe because you depended on somebody that's consistently slow.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you two. I'm going to give you a
Bravo!
And I'm also going to, unfortunately, for slamming the post office when Pat went with the patriotic, let's support the home team attitude.
Yeah, that's
on
right.
It. So, by the way, excuse me, do we know? I'm sorry, mine too. I don't know if I know who submitted that one. Who submitted that? Andrew, tell me in the back channel in the chat room. We never got an answer. Please tell us who submitted that. We want you to come on screen and defend your bad idea. Or maybe they dropped off. Who knows? Anyways, all right, let's go back to our discussion. If you have, please vote up the questions. We got a lot of questions that are in here. We've got some interesting ones here. I'm just going to bounce these off. You can say yay or nay to these because they may not be exactly in your sweet. That was Mike K. Mike K. That was Mike K. Or Mike was the answer to that? Network is bad. I don't know who's saying that. All right, let me go back to the questions. Which is growing faster, data volumes for us to encrypt versus the ability of quantum code breaking? Is this something you guys want to tackle here? You can say no if you want.
A quick answer: data volume to encrypt.
Data volume. Pat, yes?
I'm gonna punt that to Parinder.
All right, we'll move on to the next question. Here's a good one. So this you may run into, Pat. I'll throw this to you first. Okay. What is your suggestion when an entity is not willing to use AES? I'm assuming that's how you pronounce the that type of encryption. Non-U.S. Governmental. So it would be a company who would be non-U.S. or government. What do you think? And do you run into this, by the way?
We have debates on these kinds of topics all the time. But I'm not sure I have a real clear answer that's going to be useful here. I usually let lawyers figure it out and decide what will safeguard our information and which standard is better. So this is something that it's a case by case kind of thing, and I don't really have a clear answer.
All right, no worries. We're going to move on. Feel free to punt questions. That's quite all right. All right, this is definitely up your alley, Parinder, because he wants to know specifically about the Cetero solution. What sort of overhead or performance impact does this technique from Cetero have? I'm sure you hear this a lot. Go for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's one of the most common questions we have to respond to. So going back to the very beginning of the conversation, David, challenges with encryption has always been performance, right? I mean, it slows everything down and typically causes a whole lot of overhead that truly business processes can't accommodate.
And can you give me a more detail? Because I hear that quote overhead, but it's such a, I don't know, what does that mean? I mean, are we dealing with a few milliseconds, or are we dealing with something more complicated than that? Like, is it overhead just in slowing the access to data? I mean, or does it have a ripple effect? I mean, what's going on?
So, I mean, overhead is simply the additional latency or time required to process the data, right? And the amount of additional latency depends on the type of operation. When you think about disk level operations, there are typically 25-30% is normal or considered to be normal, additional hit. So I'll revert back to Cetero. One of the key architectural things for us is the ability to perform at near the same speed as unencrypted data. But it's done architecturally. We've designed our platform to both scale horizontally as well as fire up additional resources when it sees data volumes. So transactional queries, when in an operational or an e-commerce or a CRM system, we come to within 1% of normal performance. Analytic kind of data warehouses or data queries, we typically see anywhere between 15 to 25% degradation.
Okay, and what does that? I mean, it's one of the things. It's the classic trade-off issue that people are dealing with. Absolutely. And Pat, I'm assuming you're dealing with the classic trade-off problem all the time. And it's not like we're implementing this and now everything's shifted like this. I'm assuming it's kind of a moving target and you're moving things back and forth. How does the sort of trade-off argument work, I guess?
You know, it's the trade-off, for sure, that's there. And sharp data scientists and sharp application developers will figure that out and work through that. I have a different view on what performance means here. And what I think about is, and this has been many times throughout my career, even well before Nielsen, is having to create the months of application development work to create some sort of special process, special procedure, special technology, just so two companies can kind of sort of share some of their data for a minimum of value in order to try to partner. Because it's so difficult and because CTOs have to spend so much time and CIOs at the direction of lawyers and security leaders spend so much resources to build these bespoke capabilities for companies to share information. That's where the real performance problem is that shows up on my P&L. That's the one that kills me because, yeah, great new partnership. We want to do something with a new company. but we have to build something bespoke for that. That's the challenge. And there's very few CTOs that are not dealing with this, that if they're in the information services business in any way. So I'm not so much worried about getting the answer quick in milliseconds. I'm worried about having to spend 6 months in cycles with lawyers to develop something so two companies can kind of sort of trust each other.
Is that, we talked about the delay of encryption. Is the lawyer probably the biggest delay we're dealing with? And I know we have no lawyers to defend themselves right now.
Yeah,
but.
you know what? So it used to be lawyers, because I think lawyers caught on to this problem first, but it's not anymore. Now it's your C-suite and your board of directors that's saying, what are you doing to make sure your competitive advantage is sustained, and that you're leveraging your information in a way that is productive and protected. So the lawyers actually make sure we adhere to things like GDPR and the like, and all of that's good. But it's more about competitive advantage now, where I don't want that other company to see my data, because if they saw it, they might be able to take away some of my competitive advantage. So it's about that. So it's not even lawyers anymore. Lawyers are there, but it's others too.
So we have the best strategy poll that is up. The bad idea poll has gone down, and we have a best strategy poll. And you'll be happy to know that one person put down, could be a coworker of yours, Parinder, that the best strategy is the Cetero platform. So everyone go in there. We are actually now at 41 minutes past here. Ken, Andrew, can we get on both our best bad idea people who came up with the two best bad ideas that were voted the highest, both Mike Kay and Brian Colt? Can we get them on camera to defend their bad ideas? And Pat Parinder, you will determine which really is the worst idea, depending on their argument, explaining why it's more horrible than the other one, for that matter. While we wait for them to come on, I'm assuming you've extended the invite. Andrew, let me pull. Oh, they are accepting right now, so they will come on. And we'll do that. And just as we're waiting for them to come on, the link at the bottom of the screen, if you have not clicked on it yet, please join us next Friday. Click on that and register for next Friday's video chat. We have Brian Colt, who has joined us, there's some noise in Brian's background, but
Brian.
Hopefully it's, what's going on in your background? Is there a washing machine going on there?
Unfortunately, yes.
I did identify the noise correctly. All right. We will wait for Mike. Will he join us in a second? Please, Brian, repeat what your bad idea was and defend it, for that matter.
It was to give all the encryption keys to your most sensitive databases to employees, new hires before they start, send it to their personal email, however you might want to deliver it, so that there's no barriers to productivity.
All right. Now, defend as we're waiting. Mike is coming on right now. As defending your bad idea, why do you think it's the worst bad idea?
Well, it's the worst bad idea because you're sending encryption keys through to a personal email account, and presumably those keys would include stuff that's cloud storage, so they wouldn't even need internal access to get to. And once they've left your environment, they may as well be in the wild and posted on a pastebin or something. And
well, what's the point of having encryption at this point?
Exactly.
Is that pretty much the attitude right there? All right. Oh, and here comes Mike. Just in the nick of time. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. All right, Mike, repeat what your bad idea was, and please defend it.
So mine was around USPS, and I thought you guys did a great job. Very nice. And it wasn't a knock on the USPS. I'm patriotic also.
All right. So Parinder, another knock against you for slamming the US. Good. We don't have anyone who works for the Postal Service in the chat room, so don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, hopefully there's no CISOs on here from USPS. But no, look, the bottom line is, I think it took me about 3 months to get a birthday gift, which is okay. But ultimately, you're sending it via USPS, right? So someone can open the mail, they'll probably see it. But ultimately, you may not even have a private key by the time you're done with it. So no one will be able to open up the encrypted algorithm, right?
All right.
Because nobody
so I'm
has
going to throw this to you both. I'm throwing this to you both, Parinder and Pat. Which idea? Who made the better argument, and which idea is worse? What do you believe?
I'm going to defend myself on that USPS knock. I wasn't knocking them. I was actually showcasing how reliable they are. Right? That's
All right.
so. A couple of things on the idea about sharing keys and data to potential employees. There's an angle here that we're missing, right? The organization also builds trust with them. In addition to the data, if you share with them the financial accounts and the passkeys to that too, I mean, what better way to build trust with your employees, future or current, right? You may not even need security because everybody knows everything.
So I'm sorry. I want to know which of these two. Who made the better argument of which is the worst idea?
One. I'm such a supporter
USPS. That's the worst idea.
Yeah.
All right, Pat. What do you think? You agree or disagree?
You know what? This is so confusing. So, am I picking which of these guys I thought had a better argument, or am I picking
a better argument for their idea being the worst?
Their idea being the worst. I think Brian. I'm going to go with Brian.
All right, split decision.
Yeah.
I agree.
But it was close. It was close.
It was
Mike,
close.
You know?
I think they're both horrible ideas, so you should both be commended on that. And so I am gonna. We'll just go back here.
Do we both get a fleece?
No. Well, it'll depend on whether it gets picked later. But this goes for Brian.
Don't send mine via USPS. What do you do?
Bye. Well,
DHL, FedEx.
Good job,
Yes.
both of you guys. Congrats to both of you for coming up with some really good bad ideas. But yes, I will go through all the bad ideas, of which I think there's more than 50 or so, lots of them. But also the good ideas that came in were really excellent. Let me just hit a few of these. Well, this one is the most popular good idea. Implement a comprehensive data security program that doesn't just rely on encryption. I know this is your business, but would you agree with that, Purinder?
Oh, absolutely. Encryption is just the way we look at it is it's one part, but it's the foundation for building a security program. There's so much more to security than just encrypting and protecting data. We are an important piece of it, but there's just a broader process and a program that needs to be put in place. Absolutely.
Someone, by the way, Andrew, I'm going to tell Andrew, somebody put good idea. Use a Sharpie to write down master key on a Post-it. I think that should have been on the bad idea list, or did someone actually label that as a good idea? And echoing that, these were two good ideas that I had seen mentioned earlier. No, they actually labeled it. All right, somebody actually did label that as a good idea. I think they were just being facetious there. Only encrypt data that really needs to be encrypted, and don't store data that you don't need. Only store what is absolutely necessary. Pat, let me ask you, how much sort of data cleaning do you do?
Lot. I mean, it's our business. We're collecting data from a variety of different sources and panels and set-top boxes and all kinds of stuff. And once you start getting into big data on any scale, you deal with holes in the data. The data needs to be transformed. So one of the core, perhaps the core competitive advantage of Nielsen is our data science specialists and what they do. And thinking about the question that Purinder just answered, it is absolutely going to be something that gets fixed by technology in the next decade. Has to get fixed. Big data can't deliver on its promise unless data can be combined without this stop-go encryption thing that we do today. That's what I love so much about the Sotera platform, because it really could be something that becomes a standard in how companies share data and share it without letting the crown jewels get out. So it's this has to get fixed. We can't. The cloud, big data, data science can't reach its manifest destiny unless we can solve this problem of stop-go. Encrypt, unencrypt, use, encrypt, and deliver. That's not efficient.
Can you let me isolate something down, because you talked a lot about working with partners and not knowing what they have and having a more reliable relationship when you can sort of encrypt the data. We have talked a lot on our series and on this video chat about third-party risk. We've done a lot of sessions on third-party risk. What part of third-party risk? Because it's pretty complicated and intertwined. What part do you think this greatly facilitates? Patrick.
It's a good question.
I'm not going to say solve, just makes your life a lot easier.
Well, there's two types of risk. One is that your competitive advantage will go away. Actually, three types of risk. One is that your advantage is you know something about a customer or a situation or a location or a piece of media. We know something about those things, and having somebody get that without paying for it is one risk. Second risk is PII getting out, and that has huge legal consequences. And then the third is that you might have a trusted partner that will access that information, but a bad actor within that third party having it. So all three have to be thought about in how data gets shared or not, or how you provide access. And each one has its own bits and challenges, and that's where lawyers and our CISO and everyone else gets involved to try to help figure that pyramid out, if you will.
Excellent. Let me throw this to you, Purandar. Pretty much same question, and maybe it's part of your selling point of like, this is the thing we make easier. What say you in terms of that third-party risk paradigm?
Yeah, so let me start off with an anecdote without mentioning names. I mean, we are working with a very large retail organization. When they were looking to move some of their on-premise systems to the cloud, they said there's a certain cloud services provider they would never use, because they would not want to put their sales information or product information in that space, with the risk that the cloud services provider, being a competitor, could look at their sales and run analysis. So that's the whole exposure of the services provider, either deliberately, inadvertently, for whatever reason, having the ability to look at your information, right? There's a lot of intellectual property loss. There's a lot of potential legal liability and financial liability with that. The other part of that is when you have an organization that employs hundreds of thousands of people around the world, are you going to leave it to them to make sure that every one of them is going to keep your data secure, or how are you going to do that? Our whole posture is the enterprise or organization should take control of their data regardless of where it lives, right? Because you as the organization is the one that made the commitment to your consumer or customer saying, we're going to keep your data safe. That applies to cloud services providers or third-party platform. I mean, either you're going to have them fill a checklist and say your data is safe, or you're going to take it out of their hands and say, we're going to come up with an approach and technology that leaves the security in our control.
All right. Very good point. Just to let everyone know that we have just about 7 minutes left in our video chat. And we are going to be changing that link at the bottom very soon. So if you have not registered for next Friday's video chat, please do that right now so we can do this. And then stick around for our meetup, which is a lot of fun because that'll change to our meetup link and you'll click on that. And the meetup is a ton of fun if you've never participated in that. All right, let's get to sort of our ending stuff. So let me actually just kind of wrap this up, actually, and then I'll give you guys actually a couple of minutes each to sort of give your summary advice on this very topic. And if we have just a couple minutes, maybe one last question. Anyways, let me share my screen for just a moment here to remind everybody. Here we have... All right, stick around for our icebreaker, which I just mentioned. Soon you will click that link at the bottom. In fact, Andrew, go ahead, change the link at the bottom of the screen so people can click on the icebreaker link. Tell your friends to join us. We do this every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. The only time we don't do it is like if we have a holiday or I have to go on break, which will probably be happening at the end of July. I want to thank our sponsor, Sotero. That is Purandar's company. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video chat. We greatly appreciate it. And if you want to sponsor a video chat yourself, your company, we have openings starting up in June. Email me at david@cisoseries.com. We would love to have you on board. All right. This we have just about 5 minutes left, and I'm going to throw this to both of you. We can wrap it up in a minute or two early. Parinder, I'll start with you. What is your top advice on this hacking encryption fallacy? And I'll say, what is it that people need to just realize and cope with when they're dealing with encryption?
Yeah, encryption is not easy. I think users, people, individuals need to educate themselves on the limitations of encryption and go beyond what's absolutely minimally needed because of compliance or because of some mandate, and start to look at data holistically, because every individual that's operating on data essentially has ownership for securing somebody else's privacy, right? And what I would urge people to do is look at that responsibility in the context of your own information sitting in hundreds of different data stores or with other organizations. You want people in that organization to treat your data with the same respect that you would bring to the data that you're responsible for.
All right. And Pat, and by the way, I'll come back to you, Parinder. If you've got a special offer, anything you want to offer to the audience, let us know. But hold on, I'll have Pat answer the same question first. What have always been your concerns around encryption, and what are you feeling better about today?
Yeah, I won't say I have concerns about it, because I'm very comfortable and confident in what's available today and how we use that. It's that's not the issue. It's just not enough for what we want to be able to do in today and more in the future. Information is our competitive advantage. It is every company out there's competitive advantage. And once that gets compromised, you lose your competitive advantage, or worse. So encryption is a utility, a necessary thing. It works great. We have great, I'm sure everyone, many of the folk here that are on this call are great experts in it, and that's fine. But the next chapter is going to be super important. And that's what I'm looking forward to. That's why I love learning more about what Sotero is up to. And that to me is the real fallacy, if you will, for encryption, that it's not enough for what we need to do next.
All right, Parinder, let me ask you, do you have any special offers for audience around Sotero?
Absolutely. Please reach out to us. We'll give you access to our platform in the cloud, and you can get on there, use it, and we'll work with you to find the right mechanism to support you. You have some extremely talented, knowledgeable people in the thing. We'd love to interact with you to both not just help you with your requirement, but also to learn from you. You can help us build a better product.
We do have a smart crowd. I should mention that. They are smart. And I should also mention, you can't tell right now, but unbelievably attractive. Very, very good looking audience too, for that matter.
Unfortunately, I can't make claim to that. I have everybody's seen me.
Let me throw this one, because we just have a couple minutes. I want to throw this one question. This comes from Chase Pettit again. Do you believe, because this is something I didn't know about this. I would say I learned this maybe, I'm going to say 8 years ago. So do you believe that corporate business users of encryption understand that algorithms in use now will be trivially broken at some point in the future, that essentially cryptography ages over time? Do people understand that, or no? What do you think, Parinder?
I don't think they do. I don't think they do. It behooves us as organizations that provide provide products like this to keep up with it, expecting business users to be. I mean, it's a reasonable expectations, but I don't think they do.
They do.
They're more, yeah.
And what would you say? I mean, I don't even know. Do you know what the lifespan is for encryption, or for a specific algorithm, for that matter? I'm saying.
I don't know the specific lifespan, but it's also influenced by the availability of better computing resources. That's making a lot of the older algorithms obsolete as well. But it's a two-way street. As better computing resources come into play, you're able to build more complex and stronger algorithms as well. So it's not. I mean, I saw a reference to quantum computing making everything obsolete. I don't think that's necessarily true, because encryption algorithms and products are going to benefit from quantum computing as well.
All right, quick 30-second answer from you, Pat, regarding this question. Do you think they're clueless and don't realize that the algorithms are going to be broken?
I think big companies have to compartmentalize who's the expert in what. And so we have great security people that are working on this and figuring it out all the time and bringing the best knowledge of what's modern and effective to our development teams. So I'm not worried about that per se. And we're already dealing with a lot of these sorts of concepts by data obfuscation and other techniques that are like, well, even if the data gets seen, what happens? How do we still make the use of it obscure? So I'm not worried about it. I'm as Parinder says, technology will catch up.
All right, let me wrap this up. We're at time. Patrick Deneen, CIO for Nielsen. Parinder Das, who is the CEO of Cetero and our sponsor. Thank you very much, Cetero. Thank you, audience. Click the link at the bottom of the screen. Join us over the chat. Take me a few seconds. I need to move some things because I get onto a different camera. Thank you, everybody.